Hello, and this is a new SCP video. I hope you're going to enjoy it. SCP-372 first came to the attention of the Foundation when an undercover agent reported seeing a creature that resembled the described hallucinations of one of the patients. After capturing the SCP, it was determined that it had, for unknown reasons, been tormenting the unfortunate patient. It had confused him by periodically following him and remaining within sight of him, but not the others around him, making him believe that he was hallucinating a monster no one else could see. The patient has become mentally unbalanced due to stress. This is the clearest photo of SCP-372. The camera could barely pick it due to its extreme speed. The SCP is very hard to glance, and this is why the achievement regarding encountering it is called the corner of your eye. The SCP has been described as a creature of unknown genus, approximately 2 meters long from head to tail, weighing approximately 45 kilograms. It has a thin, long body, with 8 pairs of narrow limbs. Based on this description, the SCP has been depicted by many. Some envisioned it as a lizard-like creature and some like a spider. These photos shows the SCP as it has been depicted on the game official wiki. This photo shows the face of the SCP. This photo shows SCP-372 model. SCP-372 is contained in a cell 5 by 4 by 3 cubic meter, lined with reinforced plexiglass. Embedded in each of the 4 walls infrared motion detector. Feeding will take place once a week to consist of 1 kilogram of red meat and uncooked vegetables. Before I start with SCP-970, I would like to bring to your attention that it's pretty complicated and interesting, and I advise you to listen carefully. SCP-970 is a phenomenon wherein a collection of rooms are looped on themselves, all in a straight line. It is possible to walk forward and end up at the starting point. This photo shows how the phenomenon appears. All sites affected by SCP-970 are to be acquired by the Foundation, with a suitable cover established. SCP-970-01 is a cell block within Sector 19 and the first example of the SCP-970. It was constructed with the intent of housing Class D personnel and fulfilled this purpose until several Class D breached the containment in an escape attempt. The investigation into the incident led to the discovery that a series of doors had appeared in the cell block, leading into rooms on the opposite side of the corridor. Multiple experiments had been carried out. Some of them had freaky and out-of-this-world results. Experiment 1. It was a very simple experiment. In this experiment, D-970-249 was given a head-mounted camera and instructed to walk through the doors of SCP-970-01. The subject successfully navigated the rooms, expressing alarm and surprise to discover himself at the starting point. Experiment 2. D-970-295 was instructed to repeat the previous instructions for as long as he could. Water and food were provided. The subject continued for 205 iterations. The subject reacted with confusion on fetching his water. He claimed that the researcher Tyler had previously black hair, and now it's blonde. At no point during the experiment Tyler had dyed her hair, and colleagues claim that she had the same hair for 9 months. Tyler admitted that she had considered dyeing her hair black the night before, but chose not to. Examination of the subject recording indeed showed Tyler with black hair until the 205th iteration. On future experimentation, Other small differences were noted. The experiment was called to an immediate end. Experiment 3. D-970-296 was given a chipped card containing the following items of data. A 16-bit pseudo-random number called datum A. The final score of football match that finished 20 minutes before the experiment began, called datum B. The morning's DOW Jones Index, datum C. 5-day weather forecast of the USA, datum D. A scanner was erected to read the data as the subject passed by. At iteration 24, datum B diverged. A 76 iteration datum B diverged from its original content even further. At iteration 157, a man appeared in the place of D-970-296. The man was restrained, but after the analysis of the data on the man card indicated that he was D-970-296, and in his original iteration another class D was signed for the experiment. Datum C first diverged from its original value after the 234 iterations. Datum D didn't diverge through the 371 iterations of the experiment. This experiment established that as the number of the iterations increase, the divergence from our own iterations lies further in the past. Experiment 04. This is the last experiment, as things went out of control from here, and things got bloody. This time the experiment was using a probe, and it was programmed to recognize and open the doors of SCP-970-01 and fitted with camera. This experiment is different from experiment 3, as it relay information to the first iteration, whereas the previous passed information down to further iterations. The results. Iteration 213. The first notable difference. Dr. Zhang is wearing red tie. Iteration 704. Researcher Tyler is absent and does not appear until iteration 1061. She reappears and her identity pass declares her as a doctor. Further iteration. The research team appears to be under attack and Dr. Zhang is shot in the chest. Further iteration. The research team disappear and the wall is covered in blood. Symbols can be seen in the blood. Further iteration. Something happened to the facial features of the research team. After the experiment, following a nervous breakdown, researcher Tyler has been admitted to the psychiatric ward. Others went through similar yet less severe cases.
Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please consider subscribing and sharing the video.